This is Dr. Asan Abdullah with the course Web Applications Programming, and we are at the lecture 9B. And I've already explained that how 9B is different from 9A. And the topic which we are covering is PHP Basics. And we will be looking at some of the basic concepts, the variables, and the underlying theory for at the basic level. And like all the videos in this course, they have been developed and the content has been used learning management system, and it has some wonderful features which facilitate and which help you get the most out of it. So it provides full text search, basic and advanced, and you can search for the topics or the material of your interest. And if there is any visual disability, the user can set the font size, the color, the line spacing, the type of font to facilitate to maximize. And the content is displayed and is presented in a nested hierarchical fashion in a manner, and that helps facilitate. For example, you have the bullets, then you have the summary, then you have the explanation of the bullets, and then you have the references and diagrams if needed. And of course, there are online exams also to practice to know what you have learned, and the system also identifies the weaknesses, and the system tracks your progress so you know what you have covered, what you have not covered. And of course, it is uh, beneficial, and it has been optimized to work on small devices also like smartphones, their alignment and everything. So this is all explained in these 6 videos, and these videos are available at this URL, or you can go to YouTube and type my name, Dr. Hassan Abdullah, and it will take you to my official YouTube channel where these videos are available. And the approach of this course is maximizing upon the question and answer based approach, which is very proactive and which is very engaging. Okay, and it promotes thinking, and of course it also capitalizes on the traditional approach where data and facts are presented. So it's the best of the both worlds. So this is the list of topics, and we are at topic number 9, PHP Basics. And this is further divided into 10 questions and answers, and every question and answer is a concept. So lecture 9A already covered, which is shown in yellow highlighted, and 9B, which we are covering right now, highlighted in green. So now we move towards the supplemental website and cover all of the question and answers for 9B. So we start with the next set of Q&A, which is the lecture 9B, and we start with the concept of the difference between the functionality of an HTML page and PHP page. Although both appear to be same buttons, single page, but the big difference is that the PHP page calls itself, right, and it generates and it runs the PHP in it, which the HTML page cannot do, although it appears to be same. So the looks can be very deceiving. So create two basic forms in HTML and PHP, both same in appearance, both expected to perform action on pressing the submit button, and explain their working and differences. So create two pages, getData.html, and you can give them any name, getData.php. So for the code for getData.html, I am not giving that. It's very simple, straightforward, right? But in that code, PHP has been embedded. Why? Because HTML doesn't support functionality even to read the date without JavaScript. And of course, that PHP code only work if there are web server XAMPP or LAMP or WAMP, which were not there. And this is the PHP code which I had embedded, and there can be no data processing because there is no there is no web server there, and self processing for the other, which I'll show you. So when I run this corresponding code, this is what we see. Okay, this is what we see. Static form getData.html. These are the input fields, and this is the part of the PHP tag. Okay, and this is the message which was written there for your benefit. So this is how it looks like. Now when I change this to PHP, okay, when I change this to PHP, okay, appearance is same, so I put some data here, okay, and I populate it, say for example I populate it, all right, and then I give the scores, say for example whatever the scores could be, improving with time, and I do a submit. So I get a message, and I get calculation, and I get this GPA calculation. So, and you see that the page has called itself, it has not called any other page. So that is the power of PHP. So that was this is the working, for HTML page, and now we look at the working for the PHP page, okay, just to clarify. So we look at the working of the PHP form, getData.php. Earlier we looked at the working for the HTML form. So this form consists of certain parts, which are the HTML form part setup, in which we collect the data, and we have different text boxes and the submit button also. And then the form submission takes place in PHP, and that form submission, it calls itself, and then the logic and the output, which is basically calculating the age and calculating the average score also. So let me clear this. Okay. So HTML form, part of first name and the date of birth, calendar, courses, scores, numeric values, and then is the form processing in PHP. So this is the global variable we are using, and the method is post. And what we are posting the first name, right? And it is sanitized. Basically, we would like to sanitize so that there are no injection attacks. And then we have the enter the birth date, and the today's date is noted to calculate the age, which is the difference, and then calculate the average score, and that average score is up to two decimal places. And then is the echo commands of PHP to display hello first name and then the age and the score. And this is the code for get data in a PDF file. You can copy this and paste into a page, and then run it and display, and through that this is becomes more convincing. And now we move on to the next question and answer, which is the super global variables. So what are the super global variables? So these are some of the super global variables. Global means that they are accessible across every PHP page, which is available in your server account. Okay, so these variables are readable. That's why they are called as global variables. And they are also called as super variables because they have critical data also, which is very important. And you would like that data to be secure. And all these super global variables, they start with dollar underscore. They start with dollar underscore. So let's take a look at these super global variables and look at some examples also. So they are always accessible regardless of scope, making them extremely useful for web development because they are accessible everywhere, right? And they contain a lot of useful information such as form data, server information, session storage, and so on. And of course, these have distinct purposes: get and post, retrieve and send the data through URL queries and HTML forms, right? So, and then of course we have this request, which provides a merge view of both session and cookie. So session and cookie are very important. Everything is important, but they are important in the sense that the session is on the server side, the cookie is on the client side, and the session is not session. You have to kill the session, or you have to unset the session through commands, right? And the cookie, that is not the case for a cookie.
cookie is for longer period, and so on. So we will cover the differences between, then I'll show you some interesting stuff also. So server, $server gives access to server and the execution environment and to manage the files and so on. So these variables are essential for dynamic web applications, right? So get used to collect data sent via the URL. Okay. For example, when I send something like example.com / page.php user is equal to Tom. So Tom is sent, and I can read Tom at the page where this was sent using the $_get command, and in the URL I can also replace Tom with say Sally and make an enter. So the whatever was being done for Sally, if the Sally text exists, that would be done for Sally also. But it is less secure, and of course it is ideal for sharing links, because when I share a link, right, then there may be different parameters, and those parameters have different values, and based upon the values of those parameters, the results which are produced can be very different. So for sharing the link, get is the best option. Okay, because if I share with the post, it doesn't make any sense, because that is not being passed through the URL, right? So if I have the post request for the form submission, it is of course secure because it is not visible in the URL. Okay, and it is suitable for sending sensitive or large amount of data like passwords, but this is not used for link sharing. Okay. So this results in cleaner URLs and better data protection, but still requires validation to avoid injection attacks. We'll talk about the injection attacks. Request is a combination, contains the contents of get, post, and cookie. So cookie is a small text file. It can be large text file also, and that is stored on the client side on your machine. It could be your smartphone. We'll talk more about cookie. And this cookie is not permanent in the context that if I delete my recent history, say I delete for the last 1 hour, cookie would be gone. But that is not the case for a session is more robust, much more robust. So session stores data across multiple page requests, and this data is stored across multiple pages on the server. Okay, and what is the benefit? Retain user specific information like login status, shopping cart contents, and preferences. Say, for example, I have the admin page, and the admin page is just like any other PHP page, right? And that admin page, if the session is not live, right, then the user cannot use the admin page because the session has to be present there. Okay, and I can generate that session by virtue of a login page, right? And when I log in, then through post it takes me to the admin page, and on the admin page I may have a logout button also, and that logout button, as a matter of fact, that resets the session, that or kills the session. When the session is killed on a page, okay, then that logout page has a header which takes me to the corresponding header page, and then if I do a back or I do anything else, copy paste the URL, since the session is gone, so the admin page never comes up. So this is the importance of session. You cannot just cookie. I can kill a cookie by resetting the history. Okay, so used to store data on the client's browser and retrieve it across requests. Okay, so maybe I am storing certain features or maybe the password of the user using a cookie. Using a cookie to store a password is not a good practice, because cookies are readable, okay, and on the client side. So then is the server that contains the request headers client IP address. So using that IP address, one can do a lot of things, because using that IP address, one can find the time zone, okay, and one can get the city name, country name, and do a lot of interesting stuff with the client IP. Okay, and developers use to detect request types and debug environment specific. You can do a lot of things. Okay, and then is the files and handles upload via the HTML forms, stores data about uploaded files, name, type, size, temporary stage, storage path, and so on. So, and the environment. So these I'm just going through quickly because they are not used very frequently. The most will be used or are used are the get, post, and then is the session. So one example of session is, for example, see, try to understand, because say for example the grades are being calculated, or the exams are being scored. So the code for the exam and for grading the exam, for totaling the exam score, and the questions, they may be the same. Logic is same. Questions could also be the same. So if you do the calculations without a session, it will be a disaster, right? Because how do you ensure that the sum is the different sum? You cannot write sum 1 and sum 2 and sum 3. How do you know that how many people would be there? So the session variables control all of these things. Okay, so here is the example of a get, and then the example of a session variable. Session is declared. Okay, and then that's about it. So you can copy paste and try them out. All right, so this is a very interesting one. Explain the main difference between PHP underscore dollar underscore session and cookie global variables. So you can read this stuff. I will explain it, but I will show you something more interesting. First of all is the storage location. So session is stored on the server side, cookies on the client side. Then is the data lifetime, how long it stays. Session lives until the browser is closed. But the cookies can have a defined expiration time. For example, they may expire after a day, okay, or they may stay there for days, weeks, or even months. Okay, browser is closed, session is gone. Browser is closed, cookie may not go away. So cookies are remembering good at remembering long-term preferences like themes and languages and login credentials. Okay, but cookies can be cleared by users. All right, and they may be cleared by server because of user inactivity. Sessions are inherently more secure because it is not at the browser side, it is at the server. Server are very secure. Servers are basically managed by professionals. Okay, client are people like the end users. Okay, they are not professionals, professional administrators. They may be professional as in a business, but not as system admins. And cookies are readable and modifiable by the client. Okay, so people can read your cookies also. So they are vulnerable. All right, so don't use them for storing passwords. Size limit: cookies are limited by browser specification. This is the size. And use cases: cookies dealing with temporary but sensitive user data. Okay, and of course many applications use both sessions and cookies. So if you copy this code, right, and you copy this code in a web page and run that web page, so what it's going to do something like this. Let me show it to you. So the code which I showed you previously, if you copy paste that code into a page and run that page, that is going to look something like this. So add cookie is of course create a cookie, and you have a cookie and some contents also, and then display the cookie and reset the cookie. So let's add a cookie. So a cookie has been added. Let's display the cookie. So for user cookie, we added this cookie. So we add couple of more cookies. So we have like 5 or 6 cookies. And if I do a reset cookie, these cookies are gone. Display cookie, no cookie set, or all have expired. Let me add some more cookies. So I've added more cookies. Now if I go to history, all right, you can go to history of your browser and go to history and clear the history of last 1 hour. All right, and then you click on display cookie. You won't see anything here because I've not cleared the history. So these cookies are being shown here. I can of course do a reset cookie also when it's gone. Now similar to this, we have the session also. Similar to this, we have session. Okay, so we have the PHP session. So I can add a session, and I have these multiple sessions, multiple session variables. Now remember that these variables, these sessions are not on the client side. What you're seeing is the client. Okay, but these sessions are on the server side. So I can add another session and I can have view them. I can reset. Now this reset has not happened at the client end. So if I add sessions, right, and I go to the history and I clear the history of 1 hour or 2 hours, display session is not going to be empty. That's the purpose. The display session is not going to be empty. Okay, what are the basic PHP commands typically used in web? This is quite quite a few commands. So we'll go through them, and this basically 9a and 9b. If you do it carefully, so you'll have a lot of significant amount of experience of what to do with the commands. So let's start with the echo and print. So these are going to output data to the browser. Echo, echo, okay, and print is nothing special about it. So purpose of get and post, I've explained it a lot, right? So username, I'm using post, and password also post. Why? Because they are secure. They don't show up in the URL. Then the session is to session variables to persist across pages at the server side. So you start a session, okay, and then store the data in a session, right? So username has the session John Doe, okay, and I can echo it and I can basically reset it also. Then are the MySQL I connect and MySQL query commands. So these are used with from PHP to connect to the database. So this connection requires a localhost username, password, database, right? And this has to be provided. And if the connection takes place, right, then you have a message. If it doesn't take place, you have an error message. But this is not a good approach. I would strongly suggest that you use a path. You create a folder, and that folder create a file, and in that file you keep the localhost username, password, and database, and you call them from wherever the page you want to do a database connection. This is explained in, I believe, that's topic number 15. So running a query, you run the query like this, okay, and this is SQL. You can see that, and this while, and this is echo. This is PHP, and then you have the prepare and bind parameters. Header basically it takes the control to a certain file. So header basically what it does is location welcome.php, it redirects to the welcome page. So maybe what you can do is that you can have an index page in all the folders, right? And the index pages can be taking you to the required location. Is set empty? These functions are used to check if a variable is set and not empty, right? So you can, if it's empty, you do certain things. If it's not empty, you don't do. And include PHP is used for creating modular application. Okay, and then are the files, password hash and password verify. Now this can be a double-edged sword, because this is going to save the password as a hashed file. It would be encrypted, right? And decryption could be a challenge. But if somebody kind of accesses the passwords, so they are not very useful. Start of time. Okay, for time spent is stamping and calculating the seconds and performing the action. JSON, encode and decode JSON data, commonly used for API interaction and commonly used for writing to files like blogs. Okay, and date and time, they have their own formats. So what are the PHP commands? If, case, and while. These are also there. So what they do is, if we have discussed a number of times, so you can have the if, then you can have if else, and you can have nested also. So that is not covered here. PHP case switch statement, one of many possible blocks of code. So when the you have basically, so you have this expression, and when there's certain value, then you do this, certain value you do this, and if those nothing of them happen, then you do the default. So for example, dollar day is Tuesday, switch day. So if it is Monday, then you say start of the week. If it is Tuesday, it is Tuesday, and so on. And of course, if it's none of them is matched, then not a valid day. You can have any other message of your choice. While loop is like other procedural languages. So while the condition is true, keep on doing this. And of course, this is a summary of usage. So that's all for topic or video 9b. Thank you very much.